Hey y'all, I got a little word of the day, and I'm going to be reading from the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 3. So, who's Daniel? Daniel is a righteous man of God. He is known for his wisdom, and Daniel is able to interpret dreams, and he has these apocalyptic visions from the Lord. And in this story, there's a king called King Nebuchadnezzar, if I'm saying that right. That's the king's name, and the king, he acknowledges who God is because of Daniel, because Daniel is able to interpret his dreams when the king asks him to, and he acknowledges God, but he is not with God, you know what I mean? He's still not accepting and taking up his cross and worshiping God, but he acknowledges him. So I'm going to be reading Daniel chapter 3 from 16 to 18. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered, "Your Majesty, we will not try to defend ourselves. If the God whom we serve is able to save us from the blazing furnace and from your power, then he will. But even if he doesn't, Your Majesty, may be sure that we will not worship your God, and we will not bow down to the gold statue that you have set up." So, this story is deeper than what it seems to be, like the whole chapter, not just that verse. I know you probably have heard the song "In the Room" by Maverick City Music. I don't know if you know, but this verse is that deep that they made a whole song about this with other verses and stories in the Bible. But listen to this. I have a Savior who will abide. He's with me. He lives inside. Just go ask Daniel if our God will bring you out and he will testify. He shuts the lion's mouth. Hebrew boys on your side. Identify the fire. They will tell you he's in the room. Okay, that song right there, yeah. Alright, so boom. What is the story about? So this king, the kingdom is King Nebuchadnezzar. So he had set up this gold statue of himself. It was 27 meters tall and 3 meters wide, right? And he set up a dedication for this trophy, for the statue. So he had called all the officials, all the politics, all the judges, all the lieutenants, all these big people to come to this dedication to worship the statue. So the thing was that everybody had to bow down and worship the statue after they heard the music playing. So that's what they had to do. And whoever did not do that, they would be thrown into this burning, fiery, blazing furnace and would burn to death. So there were these 3 men, and these 3 men were friends of Daniel's, by the way, and they were Jews. They were the Jews that were in charge of the province of Babylon. And these 3 men, they denied the king's order and said, "No, we're not going to worship your God, and we're not going to bow down in front of a statue. We're not going to do that." And the king was warned that these 3 men said that, and he was really mad. He was furious with them, and he said, "Oh, so you're not gonna do what I've ordered you to do? You know the punishment of that, right?" And the king, he told them about the punishment, and they still said no. They were like, "No, there's no way we're gonna bow down to this golden statue or worship your God. And we know that when we're in that fiery furnace of fire and burning, our God will save us. And even if our God does not, we're not gonna bow down to you or worship your God, period." So at this point, the king has lost his temper, and he's ordered his guards to come and take these 3 men and throw them into the fire. But as they're doing that, these guards get burned because of how hot the fire is. And by the way, the king had ordered that they made the fire be 7 times hotter than it usually is. So they raised the temperature of the heat of the fire for these men because of how mad he was. And his guards even got burned, probably even killed, but yeah, they got burned really bad. So now the king notices something. He's telling his officials, like, "Didn't we throw 3 men into that blazing furnace?" And he's like, and his officials are like, "Yeah," but he's like, "Why are there 4 men in that furnace?" So he's like, "Oh, but these 4, why are they walking about in the fire, and why don't they have any burns on them? Why are they not tied up?" And that 4th man looked like an angel, and that fourth man was Jesus Christ. So the king and his officials, they all go down there to the furnace, and they pull these three men out. And when they came out, they saw them without being harmed. No hair on their head was touched. There was no smell of smoke on them. They were not burnt at all. They were unharmed. And the king was like, praise the God of these three men. Their God sent them an angel to rescue them. Even though they disobeyed me and risked their life, they were saved by their God. The king himself was surprised, and he acknowledged the fact that, wow, their God really saved them and rescued them. And at the end of this story, the king, he promoted these men to higher positions, and he was just really surprised and shocked because they risked their life, they trusted in God, they disobeyed the king, and they were saved because they didn't want to bow down or worship his God or bow down to his statue at all. So they were saved. So what is the lesson of this story? Because these three men were so confident in God's deliverance that they obeyed God. Whether he was going to deliver them or not, they obeyed him. Well, unlike many of us believers who only obey God in order to escape a difficult situation or a fiery trial, but these men, they obeyed God because they thought it was the right thing to do, and there was no other choice but to risk their life and obey him. And even through this whole thing, these three men were able to experience the Son of God in a whole different form, because before they were even thrown into that furnace, Jesus himself was waiting down there to protect them with his miraculous presence. That was all. Because of their obedience, these three men were able to experience something called the fellowship of sharing his sufferings. And that's what the Apostle Paul said in Philippians 3:10. So this is a message to you that no matter what you're going through in this time of suffering and pain, just remember that God's presence is what's going to get you through. That without God, you will not be able to fight through whatever you're going through, because if you believe and obey and trust in God, he will take you out of that furnace untouched, unscarred, and he will bring you through, and he will deliver you, and you will meet him in a whole new form, and you'll be set free from whatever you're struggling with, whatever situation. He will deliver you, and when he delivers you, you'll come out a whole new person. You'll be purer than ever. That faith you have, your faith will be shining so much. You have so much faith in God, you'll have so much confidence, and you'll be a whole new person. You'll be changed completely. So make sure that whatever situation you're going through right now, know that it's not too big for God. Just rely on him and have faith that he will bring you through it. Amen.